and good morning, Representative Ranson. It's neat to be on with the representative. I don't know if you know Steve, but anytime you have the opportunity to hear Representative Ranson, her husband Andrew, and their kids sing, I mean, it's like the Stillwater Von Trapp family.
Only four of us, though.
Yeah, well, only four. But Andrew is opera trained and amazing talent. But as a music teacher, she has raised her kids. They have raised their kids well. And so, yeah, if you ever get the chance to stand next to them in church and listen to them sing, or in the community, take it.
There you go. When we can go to church and stand next to each other again.
Again, yeah.
Well, we could do it in here because the studio could be alive with the sound of music. So.
That's right. That's right.
See, I thought of the
there you
line
go.
there.
Exactly.
So, Scott, I really wanted you to be able to. I thought it was great when we agreed we could do the crossover with Trish here because there's so many things going on and you're kind of working together. You were talking about PPEs and stuff. We're starting to learn more acronyms, which is protective equipment and everything.
Right.
Let's talk about our needs and how any of us or all of us or our state could help here.
That's right. I've been on the phone with Scott a couple of times this week already.
No. And I guess first I'd like to just say thank you. I mean, to our community in North Central Oklahoma and really beyond. I mean, we have had people from, I think it's like 6 or 7 other states that responded to the mask request that we put out about a week and a half ago. I think we talked about that it got picked up by MSNBC on the Rachel Maddow show and even Fox News. So we got a lot of traction from that, and every day we still get those fabric masks sent to us. And the need is kind of shifting a little bit, but those are not used for our frontline healthcare workers, but those are used for the worried well. So someone comes in with a patient that's going through, maybe it's not even COVID testing, but it's some other lab testing. We provide those masks to them. Anyway, we're grateful for all of the PPE. I mean, we had so many of the personal protective equipment. We had so many gowns and shields and glasses and masks and wipes and sanitizer donated. And, they're just for whatever reason, or for several reasons, I guess, there has been a run on all of that. And I know you all were talking a little bit earlier about the state stockpile. Some of those masks that were donated to us actually kind of count because we have to disclose the fact that we've got those now. And so, those may count against the ones that we would get from the state, but that's okay. I know they're watching that carefully. And but I'm telling you, so many local businesses, the university, I've been working with the College of Engineering. They've made us some face shields with, which is a protective shield that helps protect from, the droplets, as they talk about the aerosol that could come out when someone sneezes or coughs. But with a 3D printer, they've made these face shields. And so getting to work with the dean over there, and of course the vet school was amazing as well, providing us so many elements of personal protective equipment, and they've just been great. So we're blessed to be in this community and have Stillwater behind our efforts, and I think I think following the instructions that the mayor laid out has been very helpful. You still see people walking very closely together in some settings, and it's really important to social distance. I can't stress that enough. But yeah, I wanted to first thank our community in North Central Oklahoma, especially for their response to our call last week. We even had a call yesterday from Lowe's. I mean, they offered whatever you need. If you need to, make things like we need some IV poles.
That's
and
great.
So, those kinds of things have been very helpful and greatly appreciated.
That's right. I saw there was OSU had donated some IV poles since they're not going to be using them, and that's I think we all can come together and on whatever level we are and be part of this. And I think those masks. I mean, what love is made? I mean, each one of those masks has love in it. Because somebody lovingly made it.
It's almost going back to the Rosie Riveter days, you know, because what can I possibly do to help?
And a lot of those women that, and I know that there's not all women who made the masks, but a majority are. And
they're making them in prisons too.
Yeah, but they're church ladies, so they're praying over those masks that they're making, and it's just a beautiful. I just love seeing those stories of the masks that are being sewn.
Yeah, and Scott, when you came on here, and I don't know, the days run together now. I think that was one of the first messages we had that there was a shortage with masks, and maybe that's why it didn't make the national news so much, is because we didn't realize it as much, and we're also learning more about. I saw Dr. Fauci on yesterday, and we're learning more about whether it's just the droplets and all that stuff or your breath, and so we're now thinking it could be a little more airborne at times. He didn't try to use that word, but we're still learning. And so sometimes if you wear the mask to Walmart or wherever you're going, you may be protecting other people as much as yourself.
Correct.
And that's a key.
Yeah. That is exactly right. And we're, everyone in the hospital, for the most part, I mean, if you're in an office and not interacting with the public or other hospital workers frequently, you may not be wearing a mask all the time. But most of us, walking down the halls, going to meetings, we're wearing the masks all the time. And that brings up another need that I wanted to mention because we put this on our Facebook page yesterday. The Stillwater Medical Foundation Facebook page talks about this kind of bouffant-style head covering that you can sew buttons into the back of a headband.
Oh, yeah.
And there's an actual link there to watch a tutorial on it. But if you'll go to Stillwater Medical Foundation, you can go and check that out. But we had a couple of those brought in yesterday, and Dr. Payne and a couple of the doctors put them on, and those masks have the elastic that pull behind the ear, and it can rub as many as they're putting on and taking off throughout the day, because every time they go into, if they do go into they're seeing all kinds of patients. We're fortunate. We don't have many COVID patients, but they're taking them off, and it's rubbing the back of their ears. So these little buttons that are on this headband, if you will hold, and it's kind of right behind the ear, but also about where you would see maybe above the area where you might see those cochlear implants. But anyway, that'll hold that elastic and kind of protect the ears from the scratches that they end up getting back there from putting on and taking off those masks. But that's another call I want to put out there, because that's just something else that the community could do if they want to help.
Right, and that's good to know, because I know that folks feel when they're staying at home, it feels like a passive action to stay home, and this, making a mask or supplying a need is an active way of helping. And we've got a lot of folks who just, want to help. And I get it. It's like, yes, if you can. I mean, I cannot sew. So that is not within my skill set.
I've seen some of these, and they're gifts to the public as well. Some of what Scott was talking about with music. Some of these Zoom music things that they're doing are phenomenal.
They are.
I mean, there was one where where they did It As Well. And it was a beautiful song anyway.
Right.
But I forgot how many were in it, but like 36 or 48, it just multiplied. And you understand how that's done. To me, it's just masterpiece. It's like, what a gift, right?
Yes.
And so people are using their time, and on one of them, you can make a donation or something, too.
Right,
and,
of course.
For like $1 or whatever, and then it went to whatever the great cause was.
Right. Well, my daughter, she plays bassoon, and she had gone to music camp last summer in Kentucky, to Sewanee University, and made several friends there. And one of her best friends that she made at camp last summer is an oboe player in Georgia. And they got to working on a duet. And they both played their part to a metronome, and then they merged them together and did a little video of them two playing. And
that's awesome.
It is. So cool. It's so wonderful. They're making music together, and they're opposite. I mean, so far away.
Isn't that awesome?
It's kind of like Ebony. It's kind of like Ebony and Ivory. I don't know if you
remember. Yes, exactly.
Paul McCartney. They did that. I think they both recorded in separate places, and they did the same thing. That's very cool.
Yeah. So it's wonderful.
Let's sing Ebony and Ivory. I haven't thought about
that. Let's get Andrew and Representative Ranson to do that, because that would be That would be much
I haven't thought of that in a long time.
Oh, yeah, that was a great song.
Yeah, it was a great song and a message song, too.
That's right.
So we could use a little of that. It was really about harmony, wasn't
it? That's cool. It's the little things, and that's very cool. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah, so it's just it's great to see how people are reacting creatively to this pandemic, and there's new ways of connection using technology as opposed to, I mean, I think about what would life be like without Netflix. I mean, this pandemic would be very different.
What did you do during the pandemic of 2020? Well, the words Joe Exotic mean anything to you?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, yeah, there you go. Maybe that did not help it.
That may not be our proudest moment, right?
Right.
Does that really make you the greatest generation, part 2?
I don't know.
I watched The Tiger King over and over, and I have not.
I've not watched it either. I don't. Yeah, no.
So, hey, let's talk about testing, Scott, because it seems to be changing, and we seem to be able to expedite things a little bit. Where are we?
Literally last night, I know last week, and Representative Ranson and I talked about this. I don't remember if it was at the end of the week or earlier this week, but, the governor came to the vet school and looked over the labs that, or the testing kits, if you will, that they had collected there. We literally just last night, at the end of the day, got approval to send our tests directly to the vet school. So
good.
The challenge is there's a universal transport media. You have to put that stuff in to preserve it. It takes those cells and keeps them in the state that they need to be in for the laboratory scientists to evaluate it and do what they have to do. And so that is what we're short on. Everyone is short on that transport media. And so that's one reason that we're and the doctors and all of the different urgent cares, the health department, they're very scrupulous. They're scrutinizing very heavily who they're going to test, because you've got to fit those certain criteria. Whether it's a fever, cough, dry cough, shortness of breath, and have an underlying health condition, you've really got to have all of those things to be able to go through that drive-through at the health department or the urgent care, because they're really having to kind of preserve, if you will, right, the slim number of that media that is required for the test to be able to be assessed. So anyway, the Payne County Health Department is doing testing. I know, I think a couple of the urgent cares are. I heard yesterday one of them had run out of the test. I don't know if that was the actual test or if it was the media, but nonetheless, we should see some ramped up testing just by virtue of us being able to ship our labs a few blocks away. And kudos to Dr. Ken Sewell. I know he worked very hard on that. Last week, we were on the phone several times throughout the weekend trying to see when they were going to be ready for it. I think they were ready on Monday, but we just weren't ready to cross all the T's and dot all the I's until literally last night. So
right. That's what we talk about, how government goes slowly. Yeah. You have to make sure that everything is lined up in order for that to happen. And, sure, the news article that says, Governor Stitt says we have over 13,000 tests available, and so we need to start testing, and that's true, but that's the diagnostic side, that's the lab side. So what Scott's talking about is the collecting the specimen side.
Okay.
And so that's a different part of it. And those test kits at OSU, the 10,000 test kits, that does not include the swab and the medium in which it needs to go to the lab. It's just the lab side. And so we've been back and forth because the public health lab can only take one specific way of testing, and so that's the UTM, the universal medium, and that is in high demand right now. But OSU can take multiple, and so that was one of the reasons that the state wanted to bring OSU on, because they had a larger capacity, and that's a great thing for OSU. And now this last step of okay, Stillwater Medical can send the specimens directly to OSU rather than going to Oklahoma City and then coming back to OSU. I mean, just didn't make much sense. It made tracking sense.
Right.
And keeping track of the flow so that OSU doesn't get overwhelmed. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but we can communicate ourselves on this. So I'm glad that has been established and that we've got a little bit more open avenue as to which swabs can be used, and I think that'll be a good thing.
Properly.
Yeah. Now on the flip side of that, of course, that means our numbers are probably going to reflect, what we think we have. I mean, there have been times where we believe we have a COVID case, and we're waiting on the test results to come back. So
Right.
we're going to get those test results back quicker, which is great. It's great for the patient. It's great for the caregivers. It's great for our nurses and doctors to know without a doubt that that's who we're caring for is a patient that's got COVID. So we have already had, patients come and go, and they're doing well. So that's a good sign. But unfortunately, like you talked about earlier with Rob Hill, the peak is probably many weeks away, several weeks away, and could be into May. So we don't know. No one really knows exactly when that's going to peak, of course. But we can just watch the results back from these tests and keep social distancing and do our best to stay on track.
Yeah, that's why I haven't really dived too much in the numbers in this break because they change so much. And
they do.
Yeah. But when you look at what's going on in other parts of the state, obviously the most populated counties, when you talk about you go to Tulsa, you go to Oklahoma City or Cleveland County, most populated, they have the biggest numbers. But we're population-wise not that far behind a lot of counties who have a lot more positive tests. Is that fair enough to say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but those counties also may not have instituted the safeguards that our mayor and our city council has already, and I think that helped.
It does reflect on that, sure.
And really, I think right now we're getting into that phase of, okay, it's been a couple of weeks, and what we've got to shelter in place, or we have to stay social distancing longer. Yes, the whole point of this is we've got to flatten the curve, because if we don't, we're going to have a lot more deaths, because our hospital system is not going to be able to accommodate the folks that are in the hospital. So we really have to keep vigilant, social distance. Don't go out unless you really absolutely have to. Only send one member of the family. I'm actually enjoying it. My daughter is in charge of grocery shopping now, so
really good for you.
It's a good life skill. She needs this.
It's dangerous out there. Send the kid. Right.
Well, both actually, her and my son are still working. They work at Chick-fil-A, and so they still have contact. So it's like, all right, well, you guys are going to go do the grocery shopping now. So.
No,
since you mentioned that, kudos to thank you. God, there's so many people in the community that have reached out and done good things. Chick-fil-A brought sandwiches yesterday for our hospital team, and they've just been amazing. So thanks for mentioning them. I could go on and on because we've had so many, but thank you for mentioning Chick-fil-A.
You bet.
Scott, are you getting the sense that because I know what Trish is referring to, because we've done this for a while now, we're getting restless.
Yes.
But in being out and about, I think people are adhering to what they're being told. It seems not all by any means, but the stores are pretty. The essential ones that are open, people are almost embarrassed to be seen there because it feels like, okay, this is not what we're told to do. Even though you do have to get out and buy essentials, as you mentioned with your daughter.
Right.
But it seems like we are following the orders and not getting restless quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think so, and I do think that even those people that I talked to 2 weeks ago that said, "Is this really that big a deal?" I mean, I can't believe we need to close businesses. They've changed their tune. A couple of the ones I've spoken with, a couple of weeks ago, it's just a different story, and it seems unreal. I mean, I was talking to my dad the other night, and it just it's surreal what we're having to go through. Mm-hmm. And as our generation, we haven't seen anything like this, and. So it is surreal for everyone, but I do think that people are paying attention now. They're understanding that even young people are at risk, and that makes it real when you start seeing that people in their 30s or 40s have passed away. I call them young people because they are young, right?
Yeah.
Yes, to answer your question, Steve, I think that we're having, a little more adherence to what's going on. And I want to say also earlier in the week when you had on one of our nurses, Joni O'Neill from Total Health, and she talked about the mental health and physical health aspects of it and the importance of getting out and walking and talking to people on the phone and your social groups by Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. That is really good and helpful and healthy to do. So I just want to encourage you to replay that or be reminded of that.
Yep. My husband's parents live in Colorado, and we would maybe touch base with them maybe once a week before, and now we've got a set 2 times a week, Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. We have a family Zoom with the grandparents, and it's been actually quite lovely. Yeah. It's like, wow, we should continue doing this even when we don't have to social distance. So
there are things we're picking up there. And by the way, we also had Dr. Pence on Monday, and Scott and Joy out there help set these interviews up. And I appreciate and they are rock stars. I know you called them that earlier, I think, when we talked last week about how proud you were of your group. But when Dr. Pence was in on Monday, we stayed our distance, and you could just see the passion that she had for the message that she brought, and the same with Joni. And that interview is on. You can go to my Twitter page, Scramble or whatever. And that interview with Joni is on there. We just talked about physical health and mental health, but they were both. You feel more confident when you talk to these folks, and I can understand your pride, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! I mean, Dr. Pence is our chief of staff, and she is amazing. People love her, patients love her, but the staff here, having her at that table where we're talking about. So we have our department heads, VPs, kind of in this report. Every day we meet. There's about 18 to 20 of us that have some call in. But we have a report out at the end of the day of what's going on, what are things we got to be looking at tomorrow. But then we also have first thing in the morning a huddle with about 75 department heads, and those things that we're talking about are directly the things that our doctors are dealing with, that our nurses are dealing with, and that collaborative synergy that we get is fantastic. And to have someone like Dr. Pence at the head of the physician group it's been great. And really, in the past, we've had great ones, too. It's just she's ours right now, and she's doing a great job.
Hey, I have a question that was sent to me by Jordan Woodruff, and a good question, too, about other counties or towns. Are they sending paramedics to Stillwater Medical right now?
I have seen, I would say anybody that just drives by the hospital. As I've come and gone from the hospital 2 or 3 times a day, and I go to my office for a bit, I have seen other ambulances pull into our hospital drive-through. So yes, I believe so. Couldn't tell you exactly where they're coming from, but we frequently get ambulances from Pawnee, Perry, Ponca, and surrounding communities. So that's not that uncommon.
Yeah. So anything else that we want to get there? I know you mentioned before you could thank people forever because everybody's stepping up. But what's the final message here, Scott?
Today we're doing a blood drive, and it filled up so quickly. But there's a really great need for blood, and the Red Cross is doing a blood drive here today. We filled up with some staff and some folks outside. I know we had a couple from Meridian Technology Center that are going to be coming over. But I would encourage, if you've got a business that is essential and you can do a blood drive, there still is a high need for that, and it's scarce, and there's a risk that we could be in this state for a while. So I would encourage you to reach out to the Red Cross. They are going to have times and spacing, social distancing, so you're not risking others. Obviously, they're going to be screening and make sure you don't have a fever and those kinds of things that would be risky. But yeah, I wanted to just mention we're having this Red Cross blood drive, and hopefully we'll do another one because that one filled up so quickly. But if you're a business and you can handle a blood drive, man, that'd be fantastic.
Great idea.
It is. Yeah, we definitely need that. So, final words? Jeez, so much pressure.
You have how much when you get to go to Channel 9? How many seconds do you have?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
You have 30 seconds.
There you go.
to thank Scott for all he's doing and
yeah,
all
there
that.
you go.
Going,
See,
yeah.
You know, you're an old hat at this. No, it's just wonderful, and just thanks to everyone in Stillwater for doing their due diligence, for keeping that social distance, for really thinking about others above self. And it's a scary time we live in, but it's a beautiful time with just fellowship with one another. And it's kind of weird to say that since we're not really with each other, but we're all doing our part in our own spaces.
And checking on each other and make sure everybody's okay.
Exactly.
That's what we're about, right?
That's right.
So thanks for all you do.
You bet.
So
thank you for your service, Rep, and thank you, Steve, for having us on again today.
Thank you, and maybe we can do this again next week. We'll talk over the weekend or text or whatever we do.
That's right.
So we'll keep our distance. Sounds good. Thanks, Scott.
All right, thank you all. Have a good one.
There you go. That's Scott Petty with the Stillwater Foundation, Stillwater Medical Center, and all the work he does out there, and, of course, State Representative Trish Ranson. So thank you.
You bet. It's good to see you.
You'll have more stories next week because you're going to the city, and be safe when you're going on Monday.
Absolutely. So I will.
Thank you.